Okay, so picture this. There's this wedding photo, right? From way back in 1953.
Mm-hmm.
It gets tucked away, somehow lost inside an old library book for like decades.
Wow. Okay.
Years go by. Then a volunteer finds it, does some digging online, uses Facebook, and actually tracks down the family.
No way.
Yeah, and suddenly there's this really emotional reunion with this memory, this little piece of their history that was just, you know, almost gone forever.
That story, and it's right here in the sources you brought us, is just such a powerful hook, isn't it? It really highlights how fragile these things can be.
Totally. Fragile in our minds, but also like the physical things too.
Exactly. Which brings us to this deep dive. We're exploring the importance, the real need to preserve these moments.
And crucially, why putting it off often leads to regret. That's what the material you shared really hammers home.
Right. So our mission today is to, well, dig into these sources you've given us. We want to understand the specific reasons why delaying is risky, and then pull out the practical stuff, the actionable ways the material suggests you can actually start doing something about it, like right now.
Custom tailored for you, the listener, based on the sources you sent over.
Precisely.
Okay, so let's unpack the core problem first. The sources, they start by saying regret is, well, it's incredibly common,
Yeah.
especially regret about things we didn't do. And they hit us with this statistic from a YouGov survey. 47% of people regret not recording conversations with loved ones who've passed away.
Almost half. That's a lot.
It is, and what makes it even more, I guess, impactful is that the sources also say only about a third of people actually did capture those moments.
So a huge gap between the regret and the action.
Exactly.
And, that number, nearly half regretting losing those voices. It's not just abstract data. It really shows the silent cost of doing nothing that these sources are talking about.
Right.
And behavioral science, well, it backs this up strongly. The material you shared points to Daniel Pink's research,
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
which found that in our really big lifelong regrets, the things we didn't do, the omissions, they actually outnumber the things we did do but wish we hadn't by more than 3 to 1.
3 to 1. Wow.
Yeah. So putting off preserving memories, like the sources frame it, that's pretty much a textbook example of that kind of harmful omission, that inaction regret.
Okay, this next part is where it gets really interesting, maybe even a bit unsettling. The sources talk about how memories themselves, like the actual memories in your head, they won't wait for you. What does that actually mean? Is it just
Right.
we forget things?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture here,
Mm-hmm.
it seems to be more than just basic forgetting.
Mm.
The sources point towards neuroscience research, specifically work cited from Boston College,
Okay.
that shows the actual vividness, the visual detail of our memories,
Mm-hmm.
literally fades over time.
Like, actually fades.
Yeah, like an old photograph left out in the sun, the colors just kind of drain away. So you might remember the basic facts. Okay, the wedding happened, or we went on that trip. But the sensory richness, the texture, the specific sound of someone's laugh, exactly how a room looked,
That stuff goes.
that diminishes. The research suggests it's not just you feeling like it's faded, it's a real neurological thing.
Wow.
So postponing capturing it means you're literally losing the detail, the depth, the emotional color of the memory itself.
That really makes you think about your own memories, doesn't it? How you'd feel if those details just slipped away.
Absolutely. And it's not just our brains playing tricks on us. The sources also bring up the very real practical risks.
Right, the physical stuff. Keepsakes being fragile.
Exactly. They give these heartbreaking examples like house fires out in Los Angeles, completely wiping out family photo collections.
Yeah, man.
Or, precious photo albums getting misplaced, ending up in flea markets or lost entirely.
Yeah, that happens.
And they quote Vanessa Quigley. She runs a photo book company. And she put it really well. She said something like, while photos can't replace what's lost, they preserve the essence of what those things meant.
The essence. That's a good way to put it.
It is. Because we tend to think physical things are solid, right?
Uh-huh.
But they're so easily lost or destroyed.
But what about digital? Isn't that safer?
Well, that's what surprised me in these sources. They make a strong point that digital isn't automatically safe either.
Really? How come?
They talk about 2 main risks. One is bit rot.
Get rot. That sounds unpleasant.
It kind of is. It's like tiny errors or corruption that can silently creep into your digital files over time. They just degrade or break, sometimes without you even knowing until you try to open them.
Yikes.
Okay, what's the other one?
The other is file format obsolescence.
Okay, file format obsolescence.
Yeah.
What does that mean, like in plain English?
Good question. So It's not the file itself getting corrupted, like with bit rot. Obsolescence means that, say, 10, 20 years down the line.
The software, or maybe even the hardware you need to actually open or read that specific type of file, like an old photo format or video format, might just not exist anymore, or it won't run on modern computers.
Oh, right. So the file could be perfectly fine, but you just can't access it.
Exactly. It's effectively lost because nothing understands its language anymore. The sources warn that even perfectly stored drives can hold images that become unreadable later on. So the takeaway is, no medium, physical or digital, is truly immune to deterioration or becoming inaccessible over time.
It really does make you stop and think, where are my most important photos? Physical albums, digital files? What are the actual risks they're facing right now?
Absolutely.
Okay, so moving on from those external risks, the sources also point a finger at, well, us, our own habits.
Uh-oh.
They call out that really common illusion, oh, I'll sort out my phone photos later.
Guilty. I think most of us are.
Me too. And the statistic they give is pretty telling. The typical smartphone owner apparently has around 2,795 photos just sitting there.
Almost 3,000 photos.
Yeah.
And what's fascinating is how that sheer volume directly makes the problem worse, according to the sources.
Oh, so?
Well, that number, nearly 3,000 photos on average, just makes the task of sorting, curating, backing up. It feels completely overwhelming, right?
Totally.
So the longer you put it off, the bigger that digital mountain gets.
Yeah.
And the sources nail it. They call this procrastination a recipe for regret.
Because if something happens to that one device...
Exactly. If that phone is lost or stolen, or even just dies or gets upgraded without a really good backup first, years of memories could just vanish instantly.
Looking at your own phone's camera roll right now, does that number, almost 3,000, feel kind of familiar?
Oh, definitely. It definitely resonates.
But okay, it's not all doom and gloom. The sources aren't just about regret and loss, which feels pretty heavy.
Right, they do shift gears.
They pivot to the upside. They highlight the actual proven benefits of preserving memories early. What do they emphasize we gain by acting?
Yeah, this is important. If we connect this back to the bigger picture, the sources frame this whole thing not just as like preventing a negative loss, but as creating a real positive. It's an investment in future well-being.
How does that work?
Well, they reference these meta-analysis studies of studies showing that reminiscence therapy.
Reminiscence therapy.
Yeah, it's basically structured reflection on life stories. It's been shown to actually reduce depression and significantly boost life satisfaction, especially in older adults.
Interesting.
So the connection the sources make is, by capturing the details, the voices, the context, the visuals, while the memories are still fresh and vivid, you're creating much richer, more vibrant material for that kind of reflection later on.
So better ingredients for that therapy, essentially.
Sort of, yeah. Or just for personal reflection. It's not just for you later in life either. It's material your kids, your grandkids, maybe even caregivers could use. It provides deeper, more meaningful content for these processes that research suggests can really impact emotional and mental health down the line.
So it's like a gift. To your future self and to your family, too.
That's a great way to put it. It's an investment with real emotional returns.
Okay, so we've heard why waiting is risky, why acting early is good. The sources don't just leave you there, right? They give some practical how to act now kind of tips.
They do. And crucially, they emphasize you don't have to, like, boil the ocean. Start small.
Right. So what are some of the specifics?
Okay, here are a few key actions they list and the why behind them. First, actually schedule time for it. Like put a memory day or even just a couple of hours in your calendar every quarter.
Why schedule it?
Simple reason.
Yeah.
If it's not scheduled, it probably won't happen. It turns it from this vague, oh, I should do that someday, into a concrete, recurring thing.
Makes sense. What else?
They strongly suggest digitizing your most valuable physical prints immediately. Your really irreplaceable photos or documents.
Some scanned, basically.
Yeah. Because one quick scan gives you immediate protection against all those physical threats we talked about: fire, flood, theft, even just fading over time. It's a relatively easy win for the really precious stuff.
Okay, good one. What about digital stuff?
For your digital photos, videos, all that, they really push using the 3-2-1 backup rule.
Okay, the 3-2-1 rule. I've heard of that, but can you break it down simply? What does it actually involve?
Absolutely. It sounds technical, but the idea is pretty straightforward. It's about having layers of protection. The 3 means you should have 3 total copies of your important data. So the original file plus 2 backups.
3 copies, got it.
The 2 punt means storing these copies on at least 2 different types of storage media. So don't just have two external hard drives. Maybe use one external hard drive and a secure cloud backup service.
Ah, okay. Different kinds of storage. Why?
It protects you if one type of storage fails. Like maybe a certain brand of hard drive turns out to be faulty, or a cloud service has an issue. You're not relying on just one technology.
Isn't smart.
The one means keeping at least one of those copies stored off-site, physically separate from your main location, your home or office.
Off-site. Like at a relative's house. Or in the cloud counts for that too.
Exactly. Cloud storage inherently counts as off-site. Or a hard drive stored safely somewhere else. This is your absolute safeguard against a disaster like a fire, flood, or burglary that could wipe out everything in one location.
So 3 copies, 2 different media types, 1 copy off-site. That makes sense. It covers a lot of bases, physical loss, and that bit rot thing.
Precisely. It's considered a really robust strategy.
Okay, what other practical tips do the sources give?
Another suggestion is to make an effort to record short audio or even video interviews with older relatives, elders in your family.
They're short ones.
Yeah, they say even a 5-minute voice memo on your phone can capture absolutely priceless stories, the unique way someone talks, their laugh, things that written notes just can't get. It's about capturing the sound of their memory, their voice.
That's powerful. Easy to do, too, with phones now.
Totally. And one final tip. It seems small, but the sources say it's incredibly helpful later on.
Yeah.
Tag and caption your photos as you take them, or at least very soon after.
Add descriptions.
Yeah, just add the basic context now. Who's in the picture? Where were you? What was the occasion? Why was it special? Doing that today prevents that frustrating feeling years later when you stare at an old photo and just draw a blank.
Who is that person standing next to Grandma? Yeah, I've been there.
We all have. So that little bit of effort up front saves huge amounts of head scratching and lost context down the road.
So these are all really concrete steps, and the sources seem to emphasize, the goal isn't perfection straight away, it's just starting.
That is absolutely the key takeaway they want you to leave with. They really distill the core message down to this. Regret thrives on delay.
Yeah, waiting is where regret finds its fuel. And whether it's thinking about that 1953 wedding photo almost being lost forever, or maybe those years of stories from a grandparent that just vanished when they were gone.
Right.
The cost of waiting, as these sources make incredibly clear, it's steep. And often it's completely irreversible.
So listening to this right now, what does it all mean for you? The sources, they kind of end with this powerful challenge. Really cuts to the chase.
Which is,
you don't have to make it perfect. You don't have to tackle everything at once. Forget overwhelm. But the advice is clear. You absolutely have to start small. Start messy, but start today.
Start today. And maybe when you're thinking about starting, consider not just, your future self, who will definitely thank you for having these memories preserved. Think also about those people who love you, as the sources put it. Preserving these bits of life, the photos, yes, but also the voices, the stories. It's not just for you. It really is a profound, lasting gift you give to everyone who cares about you now and in the future.
Well said.
So maybe the question to leave you with is, what's just one small thing, maybe even a slightly messy thing, you could actually do today to hold on to a memory before it starts to fade?